Now I'm afraid. Um, so just for a contrast, my story starts in Norșenți, there in Prekmuria, right? It's a one-street town. And I received a fantastic opportunity to move to New York with my family, with my entire family. And my wife said, hey, fantastic, let's go, right? Fantastic salary, great conditions. We were going to live in a house, not in an apartment. The school was going to be for free. The health care, they were taking care of everything. So I started working there. It was really an amazing experience. Being in New York, in comparison with Martianzi there, it was quite a big thing. We had finally a lot of restaurants. And but I started feeling uncomfortable with what happened in the company. I was invited as a partner for a small management consulting firm as the chief information officer. And we finished our product 3 months after I arrived. It was just crazy amazing. But almost 1 year after, we sold something like 0 items. And I was saying, oh my God, I mean, who is financing this stuff? If the company is not selling, very soon I'm going to be outside of the job. So what to do, right? And I said to the owner of the company, you know, here we are going to crash. We have to make something. And she reacted very, very against my advice. Actually, I became the enemy. So why you want to change the things? Things are going okay, etc., etc. And weird things started happening in the company after this reaction. And I thought, this is going against my values. And I became a paladin of defending my values. And I started talking about the morals of this stuff. And I didn't know that I made a huge mistake. I was transforming a business situation, a business problem, into a moral issue. So you know how it ends. The business was not going as I expected, and I announced that I'm going to be leaving. Now, at that time, Slovenia was in quite a bad situation, and what we were hearing from the other side of the Atlantic was quite crazy. Right? We were expecting to have highways with holes all around. And I'm Peruvian, right? So, okay, what to do, Tatiana, to my wife, right? She said, find a job. Find a job. I mean, we can stay here, okay? And I said, you know what? $4,500 a month for healthcare that doesn't cover the tooth, and we have 2 kids, super expensive education? No way. I prefer to go back to Slovenia because there I can be poor. So the message here is not that we are all poor in Slovenia. Actually, we have a fantastic point of starting a business. You know, we are completely protected and we have a competitive advantage that we don't know to recognize. So that would be my first thing. And everyone normally likes when I say that coming back to Slovenia was one of the best things that happened in my life. And actually, the amazing part is that together with the decision of returning to Slovenia, to my one-street town, was I don't want to be an IT person anymore. And I'm going to create this Lincoln Island company, or we are going to start connecting entrepreneurs and making some trips with them, and a very big change in my life. So I came back. Thanks God I had money for 1 year to live, and my wife had no employment. She had no working visa there, right? So we had a 1 year buffer to see what happens. 1 year, and the business was not working. Jesus Christ, what to do, right? I'm running out of money. And I went to one event, an international conference. It was really interesting because one of the keynote speakers said, when are we going to learn that international conferences are in English? Because the conference normally happened in Slovene language. And bing, great idea. Let's start thinking on making an event about fear and fail. So, in less than 2 weeks, I got something like 14 persons telling me, I want to work with you, Jose, for your project. Let's start building up an infrastructure to create not only one event, but more than one. And let's see who is going to talk about their fears and failures. Wow, how am I going to invite the speakers? I mean, they would think that they are the excellent failures to talk for the conference, right? So, okay, let's make it. And we included the word fear because we understood that failure is not everything. The real problem is starting with fear. So, fail cases. Have you noticed that basically all the literature talks about success cases? How do you feel when you read these wonderful companies that achieve an amazing return on their investment, and basically you can't compare with them, right? So basically you end up, you return to your office and, Jesus, I mean, if I would have that amount of money, definitely we would succeed. But the truth is that we don't have it, so you return home depressed. So one of the realizations that we found here at the Fear and Fail is that sharing information about failures is much easier than sharing information about success. Wow, I mean, can you understand it? That's humongous. Because it means that we can relate as humans much better when we talk about failure than when we talk about success. So if I tell you how successful I am, you don't care. But if I'm telling you my story of how I failed, you're going to pay attention. And not only that, you're going to find something in common. So now we are two human beings talking in the same level. And this is what happens in those very simple events of fear and fail. There's a special environment. We can go spiritual here, because it really happens. Something weird happens there in the event. And it took me months to discover what was this magical stuff. And probably you heard, and inside of corporations we're listening each time more, this word. And this word is empathy. I will not say anymore, because then... Now, I wanted to share something else with you. When you hear the word fail or failure, when you hear the word fear, yes, I hate these little animals, or I cannot climb high mountains, or this kind of stuff. The first instinct about fear is a very external concept. Because what I discovered is that fear is a very incredible liar. And we cover up the story of what we are afraid. So I wanted to say, how are we going to identify fear? And I hope this is very useful for you. When you come to a moment when you think, you know, I can't expand this market if I don't have more money. We cannot go outside of the country because we don't have the resources or the people. We can't. As soon as you have this feeling, I invite you and urge you to ask yourself if there's a fear inside of it. I started finding out, working with companies, that we can communicate fear. And then it's amazing because everyone in the company agrees, right? Without talking, we are all afraid, so let's not make it. Okay? So find out fear when you get reactive, when you get, I can't do it. Here are some examples, right? Each time I go to one conference with some Slovenian people outside, Slovenia. Like, yeah, it's a small country, alpine country, beautiful, very green, very little. We're in the center of Europe. Is there a fear in the back of it? Are we trying to communicate our insecurities or what? Well, obviously, are you selling enough? What frustrates you the most? Just think about it for a second. And now that you thought for a second, you just peeled the first layer of an onion. So you have to peel more layers until you go to the core. And that core is exactly what is going to tell you, what are you afraid of? Do it with your team, and you will see what happens. Fear is an amazing, amazing liar. So to end up my presentation, this is a train of thought that I found through the events. So when you show vulnerability, so, man, I'm telling you, I failed really bad. It leads to empathy. So this feeling of connection with other people. Empathy leads to connection. Why? Because we are the same. You realize that the top management and the other part of the company is basically the same. And we are all concerned about our human contact with everyone else. We understand that we need them and we need each other in order to make our goals to come true. So connection is going to lead to some kind of cooperation, and cooperation to relationship, right? So, yeah, I like you. Let's make it. Once the relationship starts, we are able to start experiencing trust. And that's something very important here in Europe, right? Especially, for example, working with Austrians, everything needs to start with trust, right? So you have to mix a bit this stuff. But once you have trust, then we are living in an environment of safety. And that environment of safety means I can be vulnerable as well. Now I can tell you what I did wrong, or what can we improve. Safety is going to develop teamwork, not group work. So you understand what teamwork is. Teamwork is going to enable dynamic leadership. That means I recognize the leader everywhere here. I'm the boss, yeah, but I don't have to be the leader all the time. So there are some others that can take the role of leadership according to their experience. Leadership to team realization, right? Because then we achieve the goal. And the most incredible thing is that when the team realizes, when the team achieves, then we go to individual growth. So I go back to my wife to say, it was a fantastic day. We did it. After 1 year of effort, we did it. I feel so good about me. So the cycle starts. The new project comes, failures, fears, we recognize them, and everything goes forward once more. So that's all for me. Thank you.